Hello my friends, I'm Duchess and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to react and review my first webtoon ever. Let's get started. Last week I made a video about my actual first webtoon experience, what my webtoon was about, and what I've learned from it. So today I'm going to read my webtoon episode with you guys. Be ready for maximum cringe if you guys didn't read it already. I am not looking forward to this. Okay, so this is my webtoon, or my first webtoon. It's called Because of Her. You can see Duchess Art 1 right here. Okay, so the first thing we see here is like the little title icon image for my webtoon, Because of Her. And honestly, at first glance, it doesn't look too bad. You know, I could have done much worse, and I'm surprised that younger me actually thought about including this, because even for my current webtoon, The Unexpected Enchantress, I don't really have this. But yeah, anyways, moving on. Okay, so the first panel, it says, my parents met when they were in high school. My mom and dad were both 16. Okay, the age was unnecessary. I did not need to include the age. And then also, you can see here, look at the details. I had, before, I did one panel at a time, because I didn't know you can make a longer canvas so that you could draw several panels at once. And so each of these panels are divided up, and so you can see there's like a clear cut in between each drawing. Oops. Yeah, so yeah, but that's okay. It's just a little beginner mistake. Okay. And these bubbles, the speech bubbles, I did not fill it in, but I just wasn't really bothered by it at the time, I guess. Like, I didn't notice it before. And also, I would like to know why my speech bubbles are so much darker than the panels. You know what I mean? Okay, let's not talk about that. Moving on. Okay, so the next panel, when they were only 18, I was born. They named me Raiden Triss. My mom told me that my dad left after that. Okay, so, what is that background? Okay, guys, I've improved a little bit with backgrounds. It's, definitely a little bit better than this, hopefully. Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, what is with the skin tone? It's like gray. It's like a lifeless zombie. He's a zombie. Okay. And that baby looks terrible. Honestly, when I was drawing this, I remember drawing him as a baby, and I was just like, I don't know how to draw babies. It was so hard. But moving on. Also, okay, I'm so sorry. I cannot get past this panel. Why does her... Okay. I think I was just really in a big rush because I was trying to meet the deadline for the Canvas event, the Webtoon Canvas event. And so when there was a bunch of like mistakes, I just looked over it and just kept working on it, because back then my standards weren't as high, and I was just kind of like, well, as long as it looks fine, I'm okay with it, because I was also under a lot of pressure to complete like 150 panels in like 2 months. So yeah, so I didn't color in her shirt completely, and then I put in the background stuff, I believe, and it just showed through the layers because it wasn't completely filled in. Her shirt, I mean. Don't know if that makes sense. Okay, and I also don't know why I felt the need to say that they were 18. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, next panel. My mom was always quiet. My grandma said that she was like that because she was depressed. I wish I could have made her feel better, but nothing I did seemed to make her happy. I grew up lonely and resented my dad for leaving her this way. Okay, so I was actually really proud of this panel when I drew this a long time ago, because, you know, there's 3 people, and if you guys haven't made a webtoon before, or if you guys haven't drawn that many people in a single panel before, you know that it's kind of a lot of work, because you have to draw each of them, give them their own colors, shade them all, and so yeah, I was really proud about this one. And I just thought the mom looked really nice here, but looking back at it, not so much. Yeah, I think the grandma looks the best in this picture, and I did not know how to draw children, guys, and babies. I cannot. I still don't really know how to draw babies or children, but it's a little bit better compared to before, which is good. And then again with the backgrounds, not really putting much effort into it, but even now I don't really put that much effort, but it was definitely much more worse back then. Okay, next panel. Okay, I guess mom was just in love according to grandma. Okay, I did not need to include that. Obviously, a lot of this information as I am reading it, I feel like I'm still in writer mode because this was my first time trying to translate a story into a like vertical storytelling way, like you know what comics are. You read it by looking at art and you scroll vertically, right? And so since I was always someone who would write and like, you know, just write my stories in Google Docs and stuff, I felt like I literally pasted my Google Doc writing into this webtoon. And so a lot of these things that I am including in the beginning, all these details and information, I feel like it's just me info dumping like as a writer, you know what I mean? Because a true webtoon artist would be able to portray all of these little details and information through their drawings and little details in their drawings, and not by dumping information on their readers, if you guys know what I mean. Okay, moving on. Oh, also, for this panel, yeah, you can see that it's really literally cut off right here, and this is the start of a new panel. Anyways, okay, later mom passed away when I was 6. I went to visit with grandma and we saw that someone left some flowers there. Okay, so for this panel, I did not know how to draw a grave, and for some reason I didn't think to look it up and use a reference. But I also just really didn't use references back then. So yeah, definitely use references if you guys don't know how to draw what you want to draw, because it'll look a lot better. And also this bouquet looks awful. Yeah, if you guys can't draw flowers either, invest in like a $5 Etsy brush set. It's really not that expensive, and it saves you a lot of time and makes your art look a little bit better. A lot better, actually. Okay, moving on. Okay, for this panel, I don't know why, but for some reason back then I thought that inserting these little circle bubbles would make it look like time was passing, and I guess it kind of does. And I also did leave a lot of space in between the two actual colored panels, so it kind of does its job. But yeah, you don't need to do that. Lots of time passed by, time I spent alone. Okay, alright, so here you can see it's a little bit better. I was very, very proud of this particular panel because I did something different, and also the panel borders and the speech bubble borders are the same size now, thank goodness. And I really liked this one because I drew Raiden completely from the side perspective, which is really, really hard for me, by the way, and I put him right there, you know, with the little cool blue background, and you know, I just thought this panel looked really nice. Okay, so here you can see I am once again narrating like an author and not as a comic artist, so there's a lot of info dumping here that is totally unnecessary. Okay, so here it says, my grandma thought it'd be good to have some change, so we moved into a small house in a little town. Okay, so I included a little tiny background this time and a little tiny baby Hayden. No, not Hayden, Raiden. I'm so sorry. Okay, and so yeah, this background is a little bit better than the other ones. I did definitely rush this one, and I also made it super small on purpose because I did not want to spend that much time on the details of the house. Also, I'm not sure why, but the thickness of the borders got thicker from this panel to this panel, but that's okay. I guess I was just indecisive or something. Alright, next, I started going to the school nearby. Grandma was worried I wouldn't be comfortable with that, but honestly, I don't need friends. Okay, so I was drawing a school. The perspective in this drawing is totally off. So off. I don't think I even need to explain this to you guys. And look, I wrote the high school over here, Champ High School. Okay, let's not. Okay, but this couple right here is really nice. I actually think that's still okay. But yeah, okay, moving I like to do things myself. I like listening to music alone, reading alone, and writing alone. I don't really like talking with others, and so here in this panel I included some of his hobbies that he mentioned, and I really liked this one. It was pretty nice, but I didn't have to say it like this. I could have just said that he liked to do things by himself, and then just shown drawings of him doing all of these 3 things by himself, you know? Like, I didn't have to literally say it because that's just unnecessary. Okay, and then the next part, because getting close to people only leads to unhappiness, so I swore never to have friends or to fall in love. And so here he's lying in bed all alone and sad and depressed because that's just the kind of guy he is. Okay, so for this, I included this part because I wanted to show people like what his inner conflict was and how he would develop and evolve over time, like throughout the webtoon. And so I literally stated his internal conflict right here, but I didn't really need to do that as well. I could have also portrayed that through the actions that he does and like just what he says to people. Yeah. Okay, next, sound effect. I struggled really hard to do the sound effect because I just didn't really know how to do them. It was my first time ever, but yeah, it turned out okay. It's fine. Again, you can see the panel was obviously cut off. Guys, make sure that you guys do not do 1 panel at a time. Do like at least 2 at a time because it just makes it so not smooth. Okay. So here, I think this is a grammatical error. So many ellipses, I don't know why I did that, but okay. Okay. So here, I wanted to portray that Raiden is, well, not, I guess, I don't really know, but he's a pretty nice guy, you know, he cares about his grandma a lot. So he's like, yeah, I'll get the door, grandma, like, don't worry about it. So he goes, takes care of it. And here, I wanted to include a little bit of the interior of the house because I didn't do a lot of backgrounds. And I'm back to the thin panel borders. What is going on here? Okay. This panel was one I was really proud about because I thought it was just kind of webtoon perspective like. So when you go here, you see the little panel here that shows the doors opening. Perspective is not that good, but it could have been worse. I actually spent a decent amount of time shading this door. And then if you go down a little bit, there you see our FL. And I fully rendered her, but I also was not really good at rendering and just drawing in general, so it doesn't look good. It looks like I don't know how to blend, and I don't. And I don't know how to pick colors, and I also didn't know how to pick colors. So yeah, there she is. I also added some sparkles because I love sparkles. And also because it was like he was meeting her for the first time and she's just like sparkling everywhere just to kind of show that she's like, wow, you know. I don't know if that made sense. I feel like I'm just blabbering. Okay. Moving on. Also, wait. I don't know why her hairbands are not the same color as her dress, and I don't know why her dress is filling out like that, but okay. Continue. Okay, so they're speaking to each other, and Raiden clearly doesn't know who she is, but she's being very sweet, and she's just like sharing some muffins, and she introduces herself as Leah Rose, and they go to school together, and her aunt lives across from him somehow. Okay, honestly, when I was coming up with the story, I didn't really know what to write about, and I kind of just wrote a bunch of BS things, and I didn't really know how to make Leah appear in Raiden's life and how to introduce her to him, so I just made up some random stuff about her auntie living in the same neighborhood as him. And she really does in the webtoon, but it just honestly does not make a lot of sense to me. Moving on. Okay, so Raiden just says like, oh, right, you're Leah. That's cool, but he really honestly doesn't care. Okay, moving on, she gives him the muffins and he says thank you. Going on to the next part. Okay, so she says bye, have a great day, Raiden, and she's leaving. And here I made a little bit of a background. It's a little bit better than my other ones. And so yeah, she's just really nice. And yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so Raiden thinks she's a weirdo, basically, and then he sees a note that's written for him. Also, I forgot to mention, I really love the way I shaded those muffins. I actually looked up a reference for these muffins. I don't know why I did that for the muffins and then not for the grave and for literally everything else in this webtoon, but I just thought, you know, rendering food was fun, because it kind of is. Anyways, yeah, so he sees a note, and then he's like, I guess I'll read this later, and then he keeps it in his pocket, and I just kind of wanted it to show that, like, even though he thinks that interaction was weird and that he doesn't really like people, he was kind of happy to see someone talking to him, you know, like, it was just something kind of exciting for him and new and different. And so yeah, he's like, well, I'm kind of curious about this person, you know. So okay, later, it's 11:46, obviously. He's getting into bed, and this panel here, I wanted to show, like, in the webtoons, I'm not sure how they do it, but when they focus in on a specific object that's not actually the most obvious thing in the frame, they blur out the background, and then it makes it look like they're focusing on the one item, right? That's what I was trying to show, but I didn't really know how to do it, and it just kind of looks like I did some weird stuff and, like, Raiden is disappearing. Anyways, so he remembers about his note, and then he grabs it, and I didn't know what the note would say because I was not prepared for this competition, and I was also joining a little bit late, so I just looked up the cringiest line on the internet, and I'm not gonna read it out loud because I might, yeah, okay, moving on. And then he says, it's very cringy, which it is. And then he has the little note next to him while he's sleeping. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Alright, so this video is actually pretty lengthy because I went through a lot of stuff and I totally roasted myself with my original or my first webtoon ever. But I wanted to go over some of the biggest mistakes that I made and share it with you guys, so that way if you guys are interested in making your own webtoons, you guys know what to look out for and what kind of things you can avoid if possible. Alright, so the first thing is info dumping. Way too much for the first episode, because many of these details, as I said earlier, could have been portrayed through the art and the way that the character behaves, you know? And it would have been better if the webtoon started when Raiden was a teen, and then we could have briefly mentioned his parents and how that has affected him because they abandoned him, and how that has shaped him as a person and made him who he is right now. And why his grandma's taking care of him. That would explain everything, right? And so I really just did not need to go into detail about his parents' backstory, how they met, how old they were, when they got married, when they abandoned him, when they died, and, you know, etc. That was, yeah, not necessary. Okay, number 2. Pacing. Since I put so much info into the beginning of this episode, the whole thing felt rushed and I didn't focus on any one part. I was kind of zooming through everything, you know, his before he was born, when he was a child, when he grew up, and then in high school, and then when he meets this girl, you know. So, like, I put everything into this one episode, and, you know, since it was also an info dumping episode, it was really bad. And so, again, this could have been solved if I hadn't included his whole backstory, his whole parents' backstory, with all the unnecessary details. And if I had slowed it down and paced it starting from when he was a teenager in the new town already, then we could have spent more time focusing on his relationship with Leah and how they actually met each other. And again, that could have been solved if I had more time to develop their relationship and write out how they actually met, instead of making up a BS reason like her aunt lives across the street from him. Okay, and then lastly, I think lack of research, because I was also very inexperienced and I was more of a writer than an artist at this time. I just didn't really spend a lot of time on the art aspects of it. Not saying that you need to be good at drawing or anything, but I just didn't pay enough attention to things that I should have paid attention to. For example, I didn't look up references for anything, okay? I didn't focus on any of the backgrounds at all. I was just drawing the characters, writing all the information I needed, and I didn't really look up how I should properly make a webtoon beforehand. And again, I didn't prepare for this at all because it was a very spontaneous thing I decided to do, you know, entering this competition. But definitely for the future, if I do make another webtoon, which I'm sure I will, I hope I will definitely be doing a lot more research about how to make a webtoon and how to properly portray things through storytelling and through my art. And yeah. Also, my dog is barking in the background, so I'm really sorry about that if you guys can hear. But anyways, I also wanted to add that you guys should not be discouraged about your first webtoon or starting your first webtoon or wanting to start your own webtoon or even thinking about it, because, you know, everybody starts somewhere, and if I had not started this webtoon, then I definitely would not have started my second webtoon, which I am working on right now, or I wouldn't still be working on it, if that makes sense. And also, I did roast myself a lot about my art and how I couldn't draw babies and how I can't draw flowers and how I can't draw a grave and how I can't do this and this and that and how my art looked bad and how I can't pick colors. But it's okay. Like I said, everybody starts somewhere, and especially for your first webtoon, guys, if it doesn't look perfect, it's totally fine. I mean, even with my current webtoon right now, I know it's not perfect, and I don't always spend as much time on the details as I should, and I don't spend as much time on the backgrounds as I should, but it is what it is, and as long as the story is okay, I think your webtoon will be fine. But for my first webtoon ever, the story was bad and the art was kind of bad, so it was bad both ways. And that is why I wanted to use it as an example for you guys and to show you guys what you should not do. And yeah, so that is what I have learned from rereading my webtoon and some things that you guys should probably keep in mind in the future. Alright, and then I wanted to say next week I will not be uploading a video on Saturday because things are kind of complicated this week with work, and I will be unable to upload a video for next Saturday, but yes, I do have a video for today. Sorry about that. I will probably most likely be back next week. Okay, that is all I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed this week's video or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get notified. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next week.